Hello, good morning, and abracadabra and so on. This lovely spring morning, the theme for Folklore Thursday is plants and herbs and such, but surely, that must also include a good old British mushroom. I've got a story about mushrooms for you here. It's a very, very short story about magic. And it's from Batcombe, down in Dorset, where it'd be nice to go one day when all this is over. But speaking of magic and magicians and everything, let's not waste time debating whether or not magic exists. I mean, magic can almost mean whatever you want it to. Once upon a time, folk who just happened to have more than the average idea of how things work, or a small amount of medical knowledge, were seen as magicians by the less brain-encumbered people in their village. But Conjuring Minterne, for he is the hero of our story, Conjuring Minterne knew he was a magician. The aristocratic boss of a small Dorset village called Batcombe, John Minterne, had a library full of impressive books. Not as impressive as this, but still pretty awfully impressive. But there was one book that was particularly special, containing, as it did, all the secrets of Conjuring Minterne's magical arts. How to turn a newt into a frog, how to summon up demons and make them do a little dance for him, love potions, hate potions, don't mind that much potions, spells which turn people's hats into trifle. All of the tricks that Conjuring Minterne had perfected as the great conjurer were collected in this big, creaky leather book. One squally white day filled with typical British drizzle, Conjuring Minterne was immersed in his spells, trying to find a foolproof recipe for a potion which would bring beards to life and allow them to sing. Which is well worth anybody's time, really. And only then did he realize that he was missing a crucial ingredient: the Dorset mushroom. A singular strain of fungus, which is long extinct now, but back then was available in one place and one place only. "To the top of Batcombe Hill," Minterne cried, and without a moment's pause, he jumped out of the window, straight into the saddle of his fine stallion Dobbin, and galloped away to where he knew the mushroom could be found. It did not take long for him to find what he was looking for. Excuse me. There it is! But once he found that precious mushroom, a very important thought hit him. "Oh, my brains and breeches!" he roared. "Conjuring Minterne, you dolt! You have fled off and left your spellbook wide open for all to browse." Now, this book was so very precious. Can you look after the mushroom for me, Gnome? Thank you very much. That'll be fine. This book was so precious, you see, Conjuring Minterne always kept it hidden and locked away. But what if one of his servants was to somehow be able to read and uncover the secrets? What if his housekeeper should find it and clear it away into the fire? The poor servant was still in the doghouse by that time she gathered up all of Minterne's precious mushrooms and cooked them into an omelette. He'll never forget that. But what if a pigeon should fly in and go to the toilet all over a really crucial spell, or someone else should pass by and decide to give some dangerous magic a go? Conjuring Minterne could get back home to a house filled with singing beards, half frog, half newts, and dancing demons, and that would not do. So he had to get home in twice no time at all, and so he fed his horse a special apple laced with his own poison. No, it wasn't poison. That was a completely different story. It was a special potion that he put in the apple and fed to the horse. Poor old Dobbin, he wouldn't be poisoned twice. Anyway, and as Conjuring Minterne kicked his magic spurs into Dobbin's sides, horse and rider seemed to become engulfed in flames, with an almighty neigh and a roar. The steed bounded from the top of Batcombe Hill, flying high up into the air like some kind of super frog. This was, let me tell you, the single biggest jump any horse has ever taken in the whole of history, British or otherwise. But it was still not quite enough to get them all the way back home. As the horse thundered down to the ground, his back hoof caught the pinnacle of the local church of St. Mary, and toppled the tip of the spire into the field below. Where Dobbin and Minturn landed, in the pitching plot by the church, where you can go to this day, the grass was so badly scorched by Dobbin's fiery hooves, they say around there that it has never grown back on that patch of grass to this day. Anyway, with 2 huge more bounds, Conjuring Minterne was finally home, and to his relief, he found that his spell book was safe. Nevertheless, the spire of St. Mary's lay undisturbed for many years, so afraid of Conjuring Minturne's mighty magic were the silly locals. Eventually, when they did dare to hoist the spire back up into place, it was terribly crooked, and so the spire remains crooked even now. Conjuring Minterne lived long and collected many more spells, some including mushrooms, some including other fauna like wild garlic and herbs that we cannot even imagine to this day. But the thing is about Conjuring Minterne, he was never really much of a churchgoer, which was a big deal in those days. So when he came to write his will, he requested that if he had to be buried in St. Mary's Church with its crooked spire, he wanted to be buried half in and half out, just in case he should find some way of coming back from the dead and want to make a quick getaway, with the help of Dobbin, the greatest horse jumper of all time. The end. And as I say, you can go down to Batcombe today and see the crooked spire and see where Minturn was, and you can even go and visit that half-in, half-out grave itself. And sadly, the chapel that he was half in is no longer there, but you can go and say hello to Conjuring Minterne to this day, and maybe even go and look for a nice mushroom for your tea. Keep safe and see you soon.